Let's showcase and rank every single exotic in SpongeBob Tower Defense to figure out the best exotic once and for all. Let's get it. Before we do, guys, we got a giveaway for you. All you guys have to do is like, sub, and comment down your username to enter. We're going to be giving away a Ultra Treasure Hunter to somebody who comments down below. So if you guys are interested, like, sub, and comment. Let's get into the video. All right, first, guys, let's start off with all of the splash damage exotics, and that's including the first ever exotic, guys, the OG Hydra Karen. Now, honestly, Hydra Karen's damage is kind of holding up a little bit, at least compared to the newer secrets that are dropping. But I'm gonna be honest, Hydra Karen is definitely falling off a little bit of the meta. Now, overall, it's not like the end of the world bad of a unit, but as you guys can see, it's just not that great. So we're gonna have exotic Hydra Karen. We're gonna put kind of like, we'll put it like in the C tier, all right? Not the greatest, maybe even the worst, but it is something. All right, also make sure to turn the tower VFX on. So this is what the VFX are looking like. And you can see the splash damage AoE is a little bit on the smaller side, but it does also have triple beam, which is kind of a pretty nice big AoE type attack as well, which isn't too bad. All right, next up we have our other splash damage unit, and that is Painty the Pirate. Now, Painty the Pirate says full AoE, but it is actually splash damage. As you guys can see, it's not hitting the whole map. So it is somewhat of a splash damage attack. Honestly, might even be line AoE. I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna just assume it's a splash damage attack because that's kind of what it appears to be. So yeah, the damage is absolutely insane. So you can see this is like 10x the damage that Hydra Karen was doing. Actually over 10x the damage. So I'm gonna be honest, I think it's kind of obvious S tier easily. And I would say S tier for even Tower of Karate and normal infinite mode. So S tier for both modes. All right, so let's move on to the next splash damage unit. And I want to give a big shout out to my good YouTuber friend Medicine. All right, so you guys can kind of see what the stats are looking like on a level 100. I guess I assume that would have to be 5 stars. I think he's in the test server right now. So you guys can kind of see the stats are pretty crazy. And after testing it, I'm gonna be honest, I think Squidward is doing actual more damage than Painty the Pirate, possibly due to the AoE and attack animation. So I'm going to give some credit to Squidward the Clown, and we are going to rank Squidward the Clown pretty high up there. I'm going to say it gets the edge over Painty the Pirate. Based on whenever I do infinite runs, it usually ends up with more damage than Painty the Pirate. However, if you're doing Tower of Karate, I would say that Painty the Pirate gets the edge. But I'm going to base this more on infinite mode, and I'll tell you guys kind of a little bit more about the Tower of Karate stuff as we go along. All right, next up, guys, we have the full AoE unit. So I believe the first full AoE unit that dropped, I think, was Patrick Sand Robot. So we can see what his stats are looking like with these traits. Honestly, pretty decent. Whenever I tested him, he was okay. But I will say, compared to the newer units, his damage is definitely a little bit on the lower side. You guys could see some of the other exotics were doing like 4 times his damage. So honestly, I don't really think he's that good, but he is at least full AoE, which isn't the end of the world. So for him, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna put him in C tier. Actually, you know, I'm gonna put him in D tier, actually. I think Hydra just seems to be doing a little bit more damage. Actually, it's kind of hard to say because my Hydra is 5 stars. So I'll put him in like C. I'll put him in D tier. I think Hydra might have the edge, but it's close. But the thing is, there's just so much better full AoE units in the game. Like, I can't really ever recommend using Patrick Sand Robot. So I just think he's pretty much a pointless unit. All right, next up we have Cyborg. You guys can kind of see the stat comparison. Cyborg obviously has slightly different traits. But I would say overall, even with the trait difference, I'm still giving the edge to Cyclops. So yeah, stat-wise are pretty good. 200,000 for 0.5. Honestly, not that bad. And of course, also has an ability as well. So as far as is it better than Hydra Karen? Honestly, no. I don't really know if I could say it's better than Hydra Karen, but it is full AoE. I'm going to probably put it in the same tier as Hydra Karen. It really just depends on what you want. They're pretty similar as to how good they are. They're pretty balanced, I'd say. All right, next up we have Mimic Bob. Our Mimic Bob has weird stats on it too, but kind of comparing it to Cyborg, you can see very honestly like dang near identical stats. Like honestly, there's not really, they're basically the same. So as far as rankings go, they're basically the same unit. Not really much has changed, so they're actually pretty balanced surprisingly for this game. So overall, Mimic SpongeBob, just kind of gonna maybe put him, he's easier to get, so I'll put him a little bit higher. But honestly, as far as exotics go, these are definitely like not the best in the game, so not super recommended. All right, let's head back to the lobby. We'll check out the Pierce units. All right, next up we have King of Karate. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I've tested him out in infinite mode on my wave 900 run, and his damage was really bad. Now I will say, if you are doing the Tower of Karate mode, he is meta, but line AoE units are in general just not that great. So while King of Karate is good for Tower of Karate, I don't really think I would bother to bring him in an infinite mode. I'd probably just bring Dorudon or somebody else instead. So I know it might be a little bit controversial, but I'm actually gonna put King of Karate into the B tier. Actually, you know what? Maybe low A tier. I don't know. I still have this guy to put in a low tier, so I don't know. We'll put him in A tier for now, but it's not looking good. All right, let's get back in it, guys. All right, here we go. And let's go to the Pierce units and a couple more line AoE units. All right, next up we have Prehistoric Gary. Now, Prehistoric Gary, you can see the stats are actually not that bad. 568 on placement. Definitely an edge over Hydra Karen. So not really that bad, but honestly, he barely makes it into like almost okay for Tower of Karate too. But I will say for infinite mode, I don't know if I can really recommend him. Just overall, he's not that crazy of a unit. His damage isn't end of the world bad, but compared to the ones you're about to see, just not good enough. So I'm gonna give King of Karate the edge over him. But yeah, he's not the end of the world bad. All right, next up we have Filthy Boys. Now I actually have maxed out Filthy Boys. And I don't know, why the heck do I have Vortex on this guy? It must be for my fastest SBA video. But you're gonna see the damage is not actually that crazy. I'm gonna be honest, it's really just not that great. And this is 5-star maxed out, cracked out. He is a Pierce unit though, so that's not the worst. But I'm gonna be honest, and he is easy to get over like King of Karate. But I don't really know if I can give him the edge, because King of Karate does have some more value, at least as far as Tower of Karate is concerned. But Atomic, I mean, Filthy Boys might have the edge in infinite mode over King of Karate. Actually, I think, yeah, it pretty much does. But yeah, King of Karate, I'm gonna give the slight edge, but it's a lot easier to get Shiny Wumbo Filthy Boys than it is Shiny Wumbo. So he's definitely easier to get. And if you're a player, I would recommend going for this guy first, just because of how easy he is to get compared to the other units. All right, next up we have some of the heavy hitters. So here we go, guys. I have a maxed out Plankton Robot. I was thinking about using him for my massive units video. He might actually qualify. It's pretty close, but I think Maximus is probably bigger than him. All right, anyways, as far as his damage goes, we can kind of compare him. It's kind of hard to compare because, like, you know, that's a Dream Gary, but I'll compare him to my maxed out, cracked out Filthy Boys. All right, Filthy Boys definitely has the edge over him, like easily. But this guy is not too bad in his own right. All right, it's hard to complain, and I will say, yeah, it's hard to complain, but Filthy Boys definitely a pretty big edge on that one. So I'm gonna give Filthy Boys the edge, but Plankton Tank Robot, not that far off, but definitely, actually I'll probably put him in the B tier. Yeah, definitely not as good as Filthy Boys, but not the end of the world. Now we have two of the heavy hitters. Now these guys are secretly goated. All right, now their stats might not look as good as Painty's, but when I tested them out in infinite mode, they were insane. So here we go, Pat the Hapless, 0 SPA, 2.8 million damage. So it's kind of hard to gauge how good he is, but let me tell you, when I tested him out in infinite mode, he was cracked out. Absolutely cracked out. Same with Jelly and Leader. Now I'm gonna give Pat the Hapless the edge because of his insane damage. He's going to be a lot better in Tower of Karate, so I'm gonna give him the edge. And then I'm gonna put Jelly and Leader right there as well because he's easy to get compared to Squidward the Clown. And but I will say Painty is the easiest to get out of all of these, so that is pretty nice as well. But here's my final tier list, guys, for the best exotics in the game. Comment down below if you guys would change any of the orders. And I'm gonna give a quick rundown of the Tower of Karate rankings if you guys want to know. This guy, really good Tower of Karate, really good for Tower of Karate. So these two are your best bets for Tower of Karate. The rest of them, you can kind of just pick from the A tier and above for Tower of Karate. Honestly, these 6 units would not be a bad Tower of Karate team. That actually might be the ideal team, but they are kind of hard to get maxed out. So yeah, this is probably your best bet for Tower of Karate, but these 4 in the S tier are must-haves for max infinite mode Carnage. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.